a brief overview of how the committee works. Each presenter will have an opportunity to speak to the committee, and after their presentation is concluded, the committee is going to have an opportunity to ask questions. When all the committee's questions have been answered, members of the public will be permitted to ask questions too. And once all those questions have been addressed, the committee will go into business session. And this is when only members of the BEX committee discuss the issue amongst themselves and determine what action to take. I'd like to stress here that everyone's view is respected in this committee, and I would like to really encourage every single member here to share their views. We all joined the community board in order to contribute to the betterment of our neighborhood. And the best way for each of us to do that is to fully participate in these discussions. We are all different, and that means we're all going to have different perspectives. And that's like A-OK. Each person's position adds depth to the conversation and allows us all to come together so that we can come to a resolution that truly represents the community that we serve. BEX is a little bit different than the other committees on CB5 in that we don't get applications. So our determinations are not as straightforward. We may decide to draft a resolution or a letter to support an issue. We may decide to seek further information or simply use the presentation to inform our community. When the committee does have an action before it, the issue will be voted upon by all present members of the BEX committee. And then should the resolution pass, it's then presented to our full CB board for a vote. And that vote is the final position of the board, which in this instance will be June 8th. So to get right to it, first up, let's welcome Anna Ramirez. She's the marketing outreach coordinator from the New York City Department of Housing Preservation and Development. She's going to speak with us about Housing Connect, and that's the process to connect to affordable housing. And as we know, that's a hot topic for us, for everybody in the city. So I'm going to let Anna speak to us about Housing Connect, how it works, and the nuts and bolts of the entire process. Anna?
Thank you, Renee. Sorry, I kind of lost my voice right here. Thank you so much. I'm going to share, and thanks everyone for having me. And here we go. Okay, can everyone see?
Mm-hmm.
Oh.
Yes.
Great. Amazing. So I'm pretty sure you guys have a lot of emails and questions about how it works. We're just going to go straight forward. Here's a globe. They can change it to whatever languages they speak, whatever language makes them comfortable, and then how they register. The registration will ask for a username, a password. They're going to retype the password once again, primary email, and a cell phone and alternate email. We always suggest for them to actually have an alternate email because we might change company, the phone might damaged, et cetera, et cetera. So it's always best for an alternate email. If the phone gets damaged and they forgot their password, they're not going to be able to log back in. As soon as they do that, they have to just say agree to the policies and then create my account. So we are just going to log in. So I know most of you already know how the process works. I'm just going to go to like little details on where to go for future questions when people call and ask. So here you see that there's the name of the person that we're using here, which is our demo. And when we go to my household, we are able to see our file, right? What we have created, the one that we created the username for. So in here, it asks questions about like living address, do either of this situation currently apply to you, et cetera, et cetera. But where I want to go is right here. This is very important. The reason why this is important is because a lot of people actually receive information about, hey, I didn't apply for this unit and I'm still getting information about it. If they said yes to this question here, where it says, are you interested in rentals and resales? They are going to get what it's mini lotteries. And mini lottery stands for um, developers that went and have initial lotteries, and then a few months or a year or 2 years, people started leaving that unit. And now we have to remarket it again. And the way that we remarket it is by doing a mini lottery. So that mini lottery is going to find people for the general public to fit in and fill that vacancy. So this is one of the questions people ask all the time. Another question that people ask all the time is if they receive rental assistance. And if they do receive rental assistance, they can definitely just come here to this question, which is going to be the first part of the questionnaire. And they can say yes or no. If they say yes, it's going to ask them what type. So if they don't see the type of assistance that they're actually receiving, they can just say other, and they can just type it out. So those are the three things that they ask here. The other one that is very important is if they have a disability. This question is based on the re-rentals and et cetera, et cetera. So if they also have a disability, they will ask them here as well. And it was going to say, this is for policies and pet policies and how it works. But in the questionnaire of the disability, it's going to say if they have a disability, which is which type of disability, which is I'm going to show you. Let's just use the one that we already have done. So it's easier. Let's go back. This is not important. And sometimes if you do have questions about Social Security or tax ID, you just tell them that for now, by creating their account, it's not important whatsoever, but they will need somebody to have taxes filed when they are being called. So if they're not being selected, then they don't have to worry about it. So this part, which is in my household personal information, where they are entering their personal information, this question here is very important. Do you have a disability? If they say that they do, they can say yes, and then press next. Every single time you speak to someone that you're helping or somebody asking you, always tell them in this section when they're doing their file that they have to press yes. Not yes, next. That's what I'm trying to say, next. The reason why is because when they're asking you questions and you're answering, and you press next, you're letting the system know that you are agreeing to what you actually answer for. So in this section, when we ask about the mobility and disability, is if the person actually have a disability based on mobility, hearing, vision, then they can say yes or no to the question. So in this case, it's asking for mobility, the person saying no. But then it asks you if you have a vision or hearing. If a person does say that they do, then it asks if you need reasonable accommodation. And that's on them if they do. And what this reasonable accommodations is going to be asking is if you need an extra room or if you need something else. In this case, I say that I need an entrance light. So why? Because I cannot hear the bell. So if when they ring in the bell, I won't be able to hear it, right? So that's one of the things that we have to pay attention. So when people are asking, we can let them know where they can actually add those information. And the other information is how can I see which buildings I have applied for? So they go to dashboard. If the internet work with us. And here they can see every single building they apply for and what's the status of each of them. In this case, we said we have 9 pending, 0 in process, 0 in action requirement, and 1 completed. If the person wants to know like how many pendings they have, they can look at this and they can see by clicking on it how many and which one is it that there's pending. And these are the ones that are pending. And what does that mean is that you already applied to this building and you're waiting to have a log number. And I'm going to show you where you can find that log number. If you have some that says in process just means that you need to provide the information. So the system is telling you, hey, we as a marketing agent, we are looking at your paperwork that you have submitted, and we're going to let you know if you meet the income requirement that we are requesting for. When we go to action require, is that the marketing agent is going to be asking us like, hey, you meet the income requirement that we requested. Can you please submit? And they provide a list. If you have anyone that says to you, oh, my file says that it's completed, but I never received the letter and I never received a notification, it could be many things. It could be one, like here, that we have rejected. That means I being rejected, one, because I didn't have the income, that maybe my household size didn't meet the household size that they are actually providing. And that could be a reason why I could be rejected as well. And two, the other reasons that it can be completed is because there's no more units available in that particular building that I applied for. And the third and last reasons for this, it could be that the person that actually already moved forward with you is telling you like, hey, your file has been completed, has been approved by HDC or HBD, come and sign your lease. And this is when you're going to see the completion section here as well. So we're going to use one of these pictures just to say if a person's actually being rejected and what they have to do. If a person has been rejected, as one of these pictures that we have here, it's going to give you a time frame. It's telling me that I have to submit my information of the question here or the comment that the marketing agent actually provided. In this case, it says that I did not respond to the first or second request to submit documents. So now they're giving me until April 10 to submit documents as of an appeal. And this is what an appeal is. And the same thing here, it will say if you being rejected as the second time, it's going to have a section here where it says complaint. And a complaint is actually going to go straight to the HBD or HDC, and we here review the case and see if we're going to overturn the rejection or not. And then, so if you have an applicant that applied, it doesn't see their log number, and they keep asking you, hey, I applied for this building and I don't have a log number. I've been searching and there's nothing. What's going on? What's the status? What's this? What's that? So there's a section right here where it says my application. Okay. Guess the system doesn't want to take me. Okay, so in this section, you can do it through here anyway. So here you can see that there is a log number and all of them has a log number. If you see an application like the ones that says pending, that there is no log number and says lottery application submitted, it means that the marketing agent have not worked with the project as of yet. It's still in lottery submission, meaning that people can still apply. So if you don't see a log, that's what you need to tell them. The last thing that I want to talk about, so to give you the opportunity to ask question, is where can you go to apply, and how do you know that this building is affordable to me? So here are all the buildings, right? We have a refined search. We can click here. We put whatever amount, let's say this one that's already there. We click search. You can also put your household size, so it can give you only what you're asking for. Press search. And it's going to give you all the buildings that meet the 46,200. And then you can apply to any of these that you're interested on. So let's just take one, for example. Here we're going to have the lottery, which is going to give me how many days and when it's expired. It also provides us with the name of the project. It gives her the address. It gives her the size limit. And it also gives her what income it starts with and ends. It provides details on how many units is going to be in the building, what is the applicant responsible to pay for, utilities. It gives you like the amenities, what amenities they have to pay, which amenities it's for everyone in the building. So here are the amenities. And then if you have like this one that says on-site laundry, it has a plus sign, it says additional fee apply. So it gives you that detail. So the applicant who's looking at this doesn't say, well, I didn't know that it's there. And also, it provides you the housing program. So the program is actually based on who's actually helping this building to get funded. So whoever is helping them, those are the programs that is working for that particular building, and that developer / owner can and it's in the necessary to provide us a certain percentage for us to give it to the public, because they are actually receiving fundings from these programs. This building especially has percentage for mobility and vision and hearing. So 5% of the 156 units will be for people that are in mobility disability, and 2% out of the 156, again, it will be for vision and hearing. The building also have 50% of community board residents. So 50% of 156 will be dedicated to the community, and 5% will be for New York City employees. As you can see, I actually apply for this building. But let's work a little bit on the area median income. What does that mean, and why it's so important to actually know that, to explain it to the public and to be able to guide them to the right direction? 30% means that 30% of their income is actually going to go to a studio, which the rent for that will be $419. This studio can only have 2 people in one studio. What that means as well is that 30% of the income for this person, if the person is actually trying to move in with 2, this person has to have no more than $32,040 if for 2. If the applicant who's applying has a 3-person, they don't qualify for a studio. Then they move to a 1-bedroom. And then if the person actually wants to be in a 2-bedroom, you can see that it changes to 1 person for a studio, all the way for a 2-bedroom needs to be 2 people, and the max is 5. So it increases to 1 person every single time there is a extra room. And the income changes, of course, The maximum changes, of course, depends on the AMI. As you can see here, we have a 30, a 50, a 70, and we also have a 60% AMI. So all of this, it's including to let the people know what percentage is actually for the area median income for that particular building. It's going to be for rent. So as you know, that only 1/3 of their income is designated for rent. So when we already have all of this, and we have spoken to them as well as how we are saying it to you, this makes the difference on where you're going to fit in. So if your income is way higher than 115,850 for a family of 7, you will not be able to qualify. You most likely will have to qualify for a 4-bedroom. And that if, you know. So here we have the map. The Google map is actually very helpful for if the person wants to know what is near them, what is a little farther from them, what school, what train station, what hospital, etc., etc. So this is actually in connection to Google Map, and the applicant is able to like click here and takes them straight to the section where the building is. We have some pictures here in the end. We also have footage of the building and people can look. But here is the things that I wanted to emphasize. If someone is trying to apply online, they just go ahead and create their account and they can apply online. If the person is trying to apply by mail, they have to go online anyways, and they have to go to lotteries. And when they go to lottery, they choose the one that they are interested in. And every single building that they are interested in has a different address for them to request a paper application. And these are only for the people that are applying through paper. They still have to go online, even though they're not creating an account for themselves. And that's basically most of the information. There's also tools in the Housing Connect where they can learn by themselves. They can actually read information and they can see videos about registration of income and document upload and being rejected, and how can I appeal, how can I send a complaint, etc., etc. There's videos and there are transcripts. The transcripts actually describe everything that is in the video, same details as if it's in the someone is actually looking at the video. So it's very helpful. Hope that this actually helped you to understand it and how it works. And if you have questions that I did not brought up to the table, please, the table is all yours to ask. So Renee, it's back to you.
Thank you so much, Anna. That was very comprehensive. Questions from the committee? Joe, I see immediately.
Hi, Anna. Thank you so much. Can you give us a sense on the supply of these units and the demand? How successful and how long does it take for someone to get housing through them for you?
Sure. So to answer one of your questions, the supplies depends on them. There's every week we have new building going out. Every week. There's a section there also that I didn't show, but there's the sales and rentals. So if people are interested on buying, and I didn't show it because right now we don't have one, but there is sections for them to be interested, and it takes the same amount of time. The important thing is for people to actually apply to the ones that their income fits. A lot of people apply to all of them because they see it and they be like, oh, I like this one, it's near me. But does your income fit on the income requirement that we are looking for? And if that's the case, then your possibility to actually getting one is even higher.
Joe, do you have a follow-up on that?
I think so. I think he
Yeah.
does.
Yeah, sorry. So how long does it take usually? Someone
So
applies?
So it depends. It can take, so let's just break it down. Um, for the section to start for the application, so let's just do it when they already submitted the task. So they submitted the task to us, we approved the task. Now they are getting approved to go live. If the building has less than 20 units, it's going for 3 weeks. Just going live, right? If the building has more than 20 units, it's going for 60 days for the people to apply. If you notice the one that I chose to show you, it has 55 days left for people to keep applying. So it depends on how many units there is in the building. That one was a huge building. So they have 156 units. So because of that, they have to be advertised for longer. So give the opportunity to people to apply. So 3 weeks for 20 and down, and if 20 and higher, 60 days.
And so assuming that the applicant meets the income requirements, I'm just trying to, I'm an accountant, so I can't help myself.
Oh,
What
no,
kind
that's
of-
okay. That's okay.
How
I
many
like-
units are there for how many people, and how,
Yeah,
how has that been in the past?
yeah. So the example that I used was the studio. So if you notice that the studio only have 2 units. So let's say we start, because we always have to start from the beginning, 1 to 50, 60,000 people that apply, right? If the first 2 units from the first people that apply got in, those 2 units no longer there. We move to the next units that are there. So if there's 156 units and you do the math as an accountant, and I say 5% is actually for mobility, so you're doing 5% for just dedicated to that. 2% is dedicated for people that are hearing and vision, and then the other 50%, so 50% of 156 units are dedicated for community board, just like you guys, and people that live around the area. And then we have the New York City employees, which is 5%. So if you do your math, what do you have?
But I guess what I'm trying to get at, using the examples you said, I'm trying to get out, if there's 2 units available for a studio apartment, how many people are applying, or is it the first 2 people get it? They get it. There's
It's not, it doesn't really work like that. The person has to qualify. So I apply, you apply, let's say Seth apply, Mary apply, Renee apply, Julie apply, all of us apply, right? But when it got to me and I'm number 5 for those 2 units, I don't want it. It's too small. So it goes to Renee, and Renee looks at it and Renee's like, I don't want it either. It goes to Julie. So it depends. It does. I cannot give you like, oh, it's going to be 5 people. It's going to be the 10 people. It's going to be the 15. It's going to be the 20, because it all depends. The only thing I can say to you is they go by number 1 all the way down. So if the person is interested and they qualify, they get it.
Okay.
I'm sorry, I cannot give you like in depth, like it's going to take 10 people, it's going to take 5 people, because it's like I said, if I look at the place, because I have the right to look at the place, and I don't like it because the place looks too small, or it's not convenient because it's not close to my job, or the kids, or I have kids and my kids' school is too far from the place, I might say I don't want it.
Got it. Thank you.
Yeah.
Seth.
Yeah, thanks, Anna. This was really helpful to kind of understand what happens once people get to the Housing Connect site. I guess I'm also curious about kind of a step back from that. So how your office works to make people aware of the housing they're eligible for, and and how you sort of funnel people, into that process.
This is a good
And
question.
maybe how the community, the broader community can help you do that.
That's a good question. First of all, we do a batch. So it doesn't matter if the person is the first person that apply or the second person that apply, the third, the fifth, the 20, or the last person, right? It's a batch, but everybody randomly get together in a computer, which we have the people that apply through the computer and the people that apply through paper. All those application gets to one, and then randomly it gets assigned a log number. So that's why I was emphasizing on the log, because that's where they are in the list, on that particular list. And so if that list have 60,000 people, then if there is a mobility preference like this building that I demonstrated, they have to find that 5% of that 156 unit to fit in. And when they finish with that 5%, they move forward to the next, until the whole building is already full and vacant. And the process of it is that as a marketing agent, will start from the beginning. And the marketing agent is going to say, well, Ana Ramirez seems eligible. They're going to request documents. I'm going to resend the documents to the marketing agent. They review the documents and they say, okay, her document seems okay. She meets the income requirement that we are looking for. She does meet the household size that she applied for. Let's send it to HBD or HDC to do the final review. Now, HBD or HDC review the information that they have submitted through Housing Connect, and then we review it, we look at it. If we agree, we send the approval back and say, yes, move forward with this applicant.
That all makes sense. And I guess just a follow-up question on that. Does your office kind of reach out to any community organizations to encourage people to apply?
We personally don't.
Okay, gotcha.
That's basically the job for the marketing agent that you guys are working with. Yeah.
Gotcha. That makes sense.
Mhm.
Thanks.
Thanks, Laura.
Thank you, Renee, and thank you, Anna.
No problem.
My question is, if you are applying for the 5-bedroom apartment, what can you just repeat how much income requirement is required? And
It's very hard for us to have a 5-bedroom.
no, was it 4-bedroom?
That's okay, but it's okay. But I can explain. The AMI actually have changed, and as you guys know, the HUD is the one who gave us like the limit. The minimum is between the rent. So how we calculate the minimum that the person needs to have is very simple. We're just going to be taking, as Joe is the accountant here, he will get it right away. So we just take the rent, we multiply the rent, whatever the rent might be. In this case, the studio was $419, right? So we take the rent and then we multiply the rent by 12 months, right? Then we don't want them to be rent burden. So because we don't want them to be rent burden, we're just going to tell them the maximum that you can actually pay for rent as an AMI will be 35%. So we did the multiplication with 419 times 12, then divide that by the 0.35%, right? So when we do that calculation, we get the minimum, which that's how we start saying, like, you need to make, let's say, $18,000 to be able to apply here, right? And then the maximum is HUD, and which is going to look like something like this. I don't know if you guys can see. Can you guys see?
Yeah.
So this grid, we received this grid from HUD, and HUD tells for each AMI, this is how much you're going to be able to calculate. this is how much the person has to be making as a maximum. Also, the grid also tells us that the applicant depends on a family of 4 cannot have more assets as a family of 4. So we don't do this. There's nothing for us to do here. We just calculate the minimum.
Okay, so because if just go down to 3, I mean, go up to 3 bedrooms and less than the 3 bedrooms, and you have 4 people, you can go up to 4 people, correct? Does that mean that all people have to have an income, or just
No.
1 or 2 can have?
So you apply, Laura, and Seth apply, which I like your name, Seth, and Julie apply, right? So you 3 apply, but let's say in this case, you and Julie are sister, you guys are in college. Seth is the only one working. He wants to move all of you together in a 3-bedroom. That's fine. We're just gonna use Seth income, and that's it.
Okay.
And now, if you have a part-time job, then we're gonna add your job also to the application, where Seth is also gonna be added, which is a good question that you asked because I didn't show that. Renee told me you guys already knew how it worked, so I was just trying to put little pieces together. But there is a section where it asks for income, and it tells you what type of job you work on and how you're getting paid. So it asks the amount, and let's say for some of us, sometimes we're always changing jobs and we don't have sitting in the same job and the same position. If you don't have a W-2, the system asks you, do you have a W-2? For, let's say for myself, you work at HPD, do you have a W-2? And I say no, then I have the right now to put and add 6 pay stubs, or how many pay stubs I have received so far, and then tell the system how frequent I'm getting paid. And the system itself is going to calculate that income for me.
Okay, thank you.
No problem. Which if we have time, we can show that later. If we have time, if Renee wants me to.
Mary has a question.
Yeah, thanks. Great presentation, Anna. Joe, just if you want, I can drop in the chat. The New York Times had an article last week that indicated that for every 430 applications, 1 gets accepted. And in 2022, there were over 5 million applications. So I'm not sure. I think that's kind of gets
Thank
at
you.
what I'm trying to get to.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Mary.
I have a question, Anna. You sort of spoke to having 2 streams. You have this paper stream of applications to individual buildings, and you have a lottery stream of applications that just come in, and then they sort of get melded into this process of logs, and then someone is doing sort of mixing it into a broth of log numbers. Who oversees that process, and how does that get administered?
Good question. So just like you mentioned, the paper and the online. So the on paper application has to be entered into Housing Connect.
And who does that?
So the marketing agent.
And
So-
is that different? Is that different for each building?
Each building has to do their own. So each building that's 100 Gold Street has a paper entry. That's what we call it, right? A paper entry. So that paper entry means that I, as a marketing agent, have to go to the PO box, collect that mail, come back to my office and make sure that I can see what you're doing, just how I see you guys with your camera. You have to be able to see me entering the information into the system, which is Housing Connect. All those applications has to be entered together, and then the system itself, the system generates a log, which gives them random numbers to each participants that participated in the application system.
And then say if it's a community board, if that 50%, that's weighted
Yeah.
in some way?
So how the person knows that they are community board? The system will know because when you enter your zip code
Mhm.
and the building zip code will reflect that zip code, this particular zip code, and where the building is part of the community. So I don't know if I was able to explain that well. So so I can show you if you want, so you guys, all of you can see. Let me go to mine. You guys can see this one.
Mhm.
You seeing Housing Connect, or you looking another page? You can see the other page.
We see pending approved.
Pending approve. User management. Do you see
Yes,
user
we're seeing-
management?
We're seeing
Okay.
user management. Mhm.
Okay, look good. Okay, so this is our system, what I'm sharing with you guys. This is not the public portal system. So let's say I'm taking any building. I'm going to take a building that I know already is doing advertisement is over. Let's use this one. Let's see. Come on. Okay. Sorry, kick me out. Come on. All right, let me get out and come back up. All right, let's see if it works. All right. For some reason, it doesn't want to make me show you. Let's see if I can do it one more time. Last try. Okay. All right, I'm sorry. It doesn't really want to show you guys. Doesn't allow me to even get in. But what I was going to show you is basically there's a sheet that says batch,
Mhm.
and we generate a batch, and that batch will have numbers, and it's going to say if the person has a subsidy, if the person has mobility, if the person has hearing and vision, if the person has community board, if the person is municipal employee. So it has a list like this going down. Every person going across like this is going to fit in, and it's going to show me what the person has, what the person doesn't have. So
Got it.
that's how we know.
Got it.
Sorry, I couldn't show you. I don't know why it doesn't
Got
want to let me show you guys.
Got it.
Yeah.
I see Bradley has his hand raised. Bradley?
Thank
Hi,
you very much.
Bradley.
Hello. Question about the paper applications. If somebody is doing a paper application, it sounds like you're saying it's done by the marketing person for each individual building. So does that mean that they have to do a separate paper application for every single building that they want to apply to?
For every single building that they're interested in. So we always tell people that it's best for them to just create their account. We understand that we cannot force nobody to do it online. And this is the reason why we offer both options. But yes, every single, and they have the time frame of when the building is going to be live to actually send it to the post office and get there on time.
And do you connect them sorry if I can ask a follow-up, but do you connect them with resources to be, because I assume for some people, the issue might be access to reliable internet that might prevent them from doing a virtual application rather than a paper application. So do you connect them with resources to be able to do it virtually? Because that does sound much more efficient.
So we do have ambassadors that if they are interested, they're in the website, they can actually go straight to the ambassador section. If you're interested, I can show you the page. So do you guys can see this?
Mhm.
All right, so this is the ambassador, right? And we have many and different type of ambassadors. The person can actually go here to, I can put this site on the chat, and then everybody can see it and have it. So if the person is actually interested in finding an ambassador where they can sit with them and be having one-on-one to help them with the applications, if they want to do an online application or paper application, they also there to help. And the good thing about the ambassador is that you can choose where you want it from the 5 boroughs and which language you're looking for. So they have choices, and they don't have to feel intimidated because the person doesn't speak their language. And then they can come here and search which one they want, or they can go straight to the map that we have here. And let's say the person's actually looking for the ones only in New York, is going to tell them here, which one are they? Show me which one is closer. I can zoom in, I can see where it is. And then it gives me the information, the address, who I have to speak to, et cetera, et cetera. So the phone number, what time, the hours that they're working, and if they take people with disability, if they can help me with other things that don't have to do with housing. So this is a tool that is very important, is very hand-on, because we keep growing and growing. People are more interested on being part to be an ambassador. It's a great tool for people that are in need to have that one-on-one service. We understand that there's a lot of people that don't know computers, that don't feel comfortable in putting their information in the system. They might know computer, but they don't feel comfortable on like putting their social security or putting their addresses. And we understand that. So we allow them to sit with somebody. And we also tell people that if they're not interested of sitting with an ambassadors, and they feel more comfortable actually going to a library and meeting with somebody that speaks their language, a librarian that they know, they feel comfortable with, has spoken to them several times, they've seen them, they can do that as well. And they can actually print their application through, tell them, hey, how can I send them a notification that I need an application? So they can write a little thing and put it in the envelope and send it. So they can help them. That's suggestions that we tell the applicant when they're calling us, that if you don't feel comfortable, go to someone that you feel that understand your needs.
Thank you. It's a
No
great
problem.
service. So just to be clear, so you put in this information either by paper or through the portal, and then it's put into this system, and it spits out into one of the buckets, depending on if you're a community member, and if you happen to get your log number gets spit out at the top of the list, you get called. Is that basically
So
what it is?
the list goes in order. So even though, like I was saying before, you apply first, second, third, last, middle, it doesn't matter. The list, they generate a log, which it goes in order from 1 to 60,000. Most of the buildings that we have like 40,000 applicants. And that's why it's so hard to have all of them to have a unit, because there's so many of New Yorkers that are actually looking for affordable housing.
But to Joe's point, how do you know? So you're saying it doesn't matter if you're first, second, or third on that, or last person in the door,
Mhm.
you'll get called depending on where in that process that log spits you out. Is that correct?
Right. So if you are log number 1 and Renee, you're log 5, and Joe is log number 2, then Joe and Bradley, who's, let's say Bradley's number 1 and Joe's 2, is going to go to Bradley first and Joe. And then whoever is between you and the upper person, if they say no, they're no longer interested, they go to you. Which order and how it's generate the order, it's just random. It doesn't have a specific order. It's just random, totally random.
And it's done on the closing date of whatever's on your date of closing. Yes?
So basically, after the closing days of the building, so in how I was explaining to Joe, let's say the building closes in 21 days for applying for the building. Then you have to give us an additional 7 to 10 business days for the marketing agent, get all the applications. Sometimes we don't get any, sometimes we get some, right? So they have to go and get them. Why are we giving them 7 to 10 business days? We want to make sure that the person that applied through paper, that application actually got to the mail, to the post office. We don't want to leave nobody behind. So we're making sure that we give an additional week for those people, because the person that applied online, they have until 11:59 to submit their application. After that, it's closed. So we give an additional week for those that apply through paper, so their application can actually get to the post office.
Got it.
Mhm.
Any more questions from the board? Any questions from our attendees? Charles.
I hope you can hear me. I was wondering regarding the online portal, could you please let me know if it is fully accessible, like under the Americans with Disability Act, meaning like to screen readers, to Siri, to VoiceOver? If they're, when creating accounts, usually there is a section for a reCAPTCHA code to prove that the person's a human and not a robot. Is there an audio challenge also inbuilt into the website, not just a visual challenge? And I was wondering also if some of the buildings in New York City that get, I think they get like tax incentives to include affordable housing in their buildings. Are those buildings also included in the list, or is it just purely ones that are run by the city exclusively, or by HPD, or are some of those included? And I'm concerned about the website. You mentioned a lot about maps and zooming in and getting information like that. I'm just wondering if there's sometimes websites will have an accessible version for screen readers. I'm wondering if there's a way of getting the information from the maps without, in sort of plain text instead of all this zooming in, that kind of thing. And thank you.
Thank you. Charles, that was a lot of info. Let's start from the beginning. So what you requested, we don't have that tool as of yet. There is information about disability, like mobility, hearing, and vision, that is given to people. That it's also in HPD website. It's like a little booklet. But what you are requesting that we don't have as of yet, maybe in the future we can actually implement that. We understand that there is a lot of different type of disabilities. We understand that if the person is having a disability of vision and hearing, that we should make it simple for them as well. But for right now, what you're seeing here is what we are having to offer. We will definitely work on making it better. This Housing Connect is just a toddler. When we say toddler, it's only being out there for 3 years, and we are trying to implement it to be efficient for everybody needs. We are working on it, but right now we
So
don't have that.
Are you saying the website's not accessible to screen readers or serials, voiceover, or any assistive technology?
Yeah, we right now we don't. And so when a person actually call us and they have that type of disability that where they cannot see or hear, we always send them to an ambassador where the ambassador can actually sit with them and actually do the application with them.
And what about the buildings that in the city that have a certain amount of affordable housing and mixed with houses? Apartments that are not affordable. Are they included in?
So so HBD or HDC, we don't own any building. We work with owners that provide us a percentage of those units that they're going to put up. And then those owners give us that percentage because of what I explained before about the programs. Those programs that they are applying for provides them money to be able to finish the building. It could be based on finishing the utilities. You could be, when I say utility, it could be like electricity, gas, anything that they're offering in the building. So some building has everything electric, some building have electric and gas. So, but right now, the needs that you probably need right now, we don't offer it. We are best we could do is what you just, what I just explained. The section of the building having half and half is because we don't get all the percentage. And so because we don't get all the percentage, the building has 200 and they only decide to give us 20. That's what 20 build units will be affordable. The rest of the building will be market rate, which we don't know the prices, because that's the owner who decides with the marketing agent that they're working with how much that market rate is going to be. The only part that we are in it is when it has to do with the affordability. And that's whatever percentage they provide to us.
Yes. Well, I
Thank
hope that the website can be improved, especially since there are units out there that are specifically for visually impaired people, the blind. I think it's important that the person who's blind or visually impaired has, a better way of accessing the portal so that they can apply for those units, if you see what I'm saying.
Yeah, I definitely understand what you're saying. But when the building itself has a set aside for hearing and vision, you are allowed to go and see the unit. I mean, if you can't see, but at least you have a person that goes with you, look at the building and see if it's perfect for you, for your needs. But based on the situation that you're explaining on the application itself in the Housing Connect, we don't have that as of yet. Maybe we can bring it to the table with our executive here to see if they're interested on how they can provide a easier way to maneuver the Housing Connect website.
That'd be
Thank
great. And if you,
Thank you
sorry,
so
if
much.
you,
Thank you.
yeah, sorry.
Charles, do you have any other questions?
I was just going to quickly say, when you do implement that, and if you need anyone to test the website with the accessibility features, please let me know. And I wouldn't mind helping in some way of,
Thank you.
testing like that. Thanks.
Sure.
Thank
We will keep that in mind. I'm pretty sure Renee has a list of other people that actually came to this presentation. So thank you.
Thank you so much, Charles. And thank you so much, Anna. Really appreciate all the information. Thank you for coming tonight. I know That makes a long day for you today, so
No, it's
really
okay.
appreciate sharing all the information with us. And I have everyone that came tonight, and I can share that with you. And any more questions, any more comments from anyone from the committee for Anna before she leaves us? Okay, seeing none. Thank you so much, Anna. Very appreciative.
All right, thank you. Thank you, everyone. Have a beautiful night. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Next up, we have our very own Julie Chu. She is going to speak to us tonight about public toilets. As you know, she is an absolute expert about this. She has been one of the very first people to really highlight just how few public bathrooms we have here in New York City. And right now, Julie believes there is an opportunity afoot that she would like to share with us. And so I'm going to turn it over to Julie.
Thanks, Renee. So actually, this idea that we're going to talk about tonight came out of our public bathroom working group. And Renee and I have been doing some due diligence this past month. So Renee, feel free to jump in anytime. But our a few community boards, we see the Open Restaurants Program as an opportunity to open up public bathrooms, existing public bathrooms for our city. Restaurants are using our public realm for their profit, and we thought that a fair exchange would be for restaurants to open up their bathrooms to the public. We've spoken to members of our own board. So Todd Shapiro, who led the open restaurant recommendations last year, he mentioned that in CB5's recommendations, the use of the applicant's bathroom by the general public was included as an option by CB5. And we also spoke to Craig Slutskin, chair of the Parks Committee. We also spoke to our electeds about possibly opening up restaurant bathrooms to the public. And out of that conversation, we came up with the idea that restaurants that open up their bathrooms to the public could possibly reduce the fees they would pay for the open restaurant program. And Renee forwarded the most recent and updated bill that includes the fees that they came up with recently. But potentially it wouldn't just be a voluntary program. Maybe restaurants that have a certain size of our public realm would be required to open up their bathrooms to the public. And then CB4 particularly was wondering, would this program be available to all restaurants, not just restaurants participating in the open restaurant program? So one option to explore is that the fees generated from the open restaurant program, could that be used as a stipend for restaurants wanting to open up their bathrooms to the public? That's not part of the open restaurant program. So just some facts about the open restaurants program. Currently there's about 13,000 restaurants participating, with more than half in Manhattan. And the comptroller published a report in 2019 with about 24,000 restaurants in our city. So more than half of our restaurants are participating in this program currently. In this chart from GIS, I wanted to show you that some of the open restaurants are just sidewalk cafes, some are roadway cafes, but then half of the cafes in Manhattan are both roadway and sidewalk. So they're utilizing both spaces. And this is, you'll see the chart where the fees are a little bit different for the roadway and the sidewalk. So in the recent bill that came out May 18th, they divided the city into 4 sectors. And the sector 1, the most cost effective, would be 80% of the city. And it would be about $5 for the roadway, $5 per square feet for the roadway, and $6 per square feet for the sidewalk. And sector 3 and 4 would be Manhattan below 125th Street. And these numbers are based on the median annual rent for ground floor commercial space. So they're a little bit higher in Manhattan at $25 per square foot for the roadway, and $31 per square foot for sidewalk. And I just want to throw in this DOT diagram of requirements for the open restaurants, where the 6 feet clearance in between kind of limits the amount of tables and chairs that you can have in these spaces. So this diagram actually shows a space that's a little bit larger than 1 parking space. So I did some quick calculations so we can kind of evaluate how much our public realm is worth, the value of our public realm, and then we can maybe look at the value of opening up a public bathroom. So this exercise shows the tiers and the range from zone 1 to zone 4 for a roadway cafe versus a sidewalk cafe. And the 150 square feet is similar to the diagram that you saw before in the slide before, and then doubling that square footage, how much the annual cost would be for restaurants. So 750 for a roadway cafe for most 80% of Manhattan, the city, and then almost $4,000 for more expensive areas in Manhattan for 150 square feet area. In the sidewalk cafes at 4,500 and 9,300, those numbers have went down from previous numbers. These are the 2018 numbers for sidewalk cafes. You can see 150 square feet was valued at 8,400, and 300 square feet was valued at almost $15,000 back then. And I think the strategy for the city was trying to lower the fees and making it more accessible for restaurants and promoting the restaurant industry, especially for more marginalized neighborhoods. And then talking about public bathrooms, Germany has a retail bathroom program called the Nice Toilet, where the city actually pays retailers to open up their bathrooms to the public. And in Germany, they've been doing this since 2000s, and 210 cities currently participate. And we're looking at $34 to $112 per month, depending on how expensive certain cities are. So some quick math, $112 per month, that's about $1,300 to $1,400 annually. And then the UK also has a similar retail bathroom scheme where the city also pays retailers to open up their bathrooms to the public. Theirs is a little bit different, where they have a menu of fees depending on the type of bathroom and the amenity of the bathroom. Whether it's ADA accessible, they get a higher fee. If it opens, it's open 7 days a week. If it has a baby changing station, there's a larger stipend. So these are just some ideas to kind of help us understand the values of the public realm, as well as bathrooms. And we wanted to explore this idea with you all today and see if CB5 would be interested in advocating for this incentive program, where this requirement for open restaurants. They've been talking about open restaurants for the past year and a half almost, city council, and we think this will pass soon. But speaking to Todd and Craig, they think this is something we can keep pushing even if the open restaurants program passes. Something we want to work on, continue to work on. I don't know, Renee, do you have anything to add or any additional information for the committee?
We'd love to just hear your thoughts. Sort of, there's different ideas about this. Julie has presented London's ideas around this, Germany's ideas around this, and some differing ideas. So it's sort of interesting to hear people's thoughts and whether you think it's viable. Brad.
Thank you, Renee, and thank you, Julie, for giving this presentation. This is very, very comprehensive. I appreciate all the work that went into this. Generally speaking, I think I am very much in favor of what you're recommending here. I guess the one question I have that I don't know if you have a great sense of it, and maybe your international comparisons are meant to preemptively debunk this, but is there, do you believe that by implementing a fee structure like this, that you will be disincentivizing restaurants from participating in the open restaurants program? Like, do you think there are people who will say, rather than put up a sidewalk shed, I'd rather just not be part of it at all and not have to deal with people coming into my restaurant to use the restroom?
Yeah, that's why we were pushing for the voluntary program where they could choose to open up their restaurant bathrooms to reduce their fee and they don't have to participate in that. But speaking to our elected, he thought it might be helpful to also have a requirement. Let's say they're taking up 500 square feet of our public realm. At a certain level, maybe we think that there should be a requirement. The first image shows this is at least 2 parking spaces. Not only is the roadway being taken up, but the whole sidewalk along that front is being taken up. So it's something we want to explore, that maybe restaurants that are significantly larger that won't hurt their bottom line be required to open up their bathrooms.
Okay, thank you.
Mary.
Yeah, thanks again, Julie. It's just such a great presentation. I'm just wondering, because now there's this new, I'm not sure if it's actually been passed, but isn't there some seasonal restrictions now being put in place? I think maybe from November through April. Would the understanding be that they would still, it's voluntary obviously, but if they buy into the scheme, that the restaurant rooms would be open even during the winter months?
Yes, I didn't read this one statement here, but they are considering seasonal for just the roadway cafe, not the sidewalk cafes, between November 30th to March 31st. But I think they're going to have a prototype program where some of the roadway cafes are open for the year and see how that works. So this open restaurant program, it sounds like it's still, they're testing it out, and there could be changes to the open restaurants program, which is a good news for us, because then we can add, different requirements or incentives in the program.
Mary, do you have a follow-on?
Yeah, just a quick follow-up, but I would guess that we would want it, if they were buying into it voluntarily, that we would expect, even if they were some seasonal curb on their presence outdoors, that they would continue offering their space, their bathrooms in the off months.
Yeah, how the actual program works, we could advise, but I imagine it could be the same thing where there's a sticker in the storefront, and the fees themselves are annual fees. They don't pay monthly. So once they pay that fee, then they would be enrolled in the program, and hopefully they don't take off their sticker during the winter months.
Pete, I see your hand.
Yes, I just had a quick question. I'm sure this has already been addressed in the presentation, but has there been outreach to the Chamber of Commerce or the New York Hospitality Alliance about this proposal?
No, I think that's a good idea. I've been curious about the average size of restaurants and looking online, but it would be good to know, like, you know, to do some research about the typical size and at what size would triggering a requirement affect how many restaurants in the total restaurants participating in the program. But yes, I think that's a really good idea.
Additional questions from the committee? Thoughts about the idea? Do people like it? Do they think it's a good idea? Do they have reservations about it? Do you hate it?
My hand's up, Renee.
Wait, who is that? I can't.
Joseph.
Joseph, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, I kind of, I really, well, I think this is a really good idea generally, and support it. And I do, Julie, you mentioned the idea, I think that a council person's office gave of having a mandatory, like a certain size, I think is my understanding of what you said, where it would become mandatory, you know, if you were taking up more than X number of square feet. And I really like that idea, like maybe at least to start, not have it be mandatory for at least like, you know, the smaller operators, but make it mandatory for the larger ones, just because I could see, I think the operators that operate the larger spaces generally probably have more revenue, more income, probably more of an ability to just like, you know, opt out of this program. And my guess is that a lot of them would opt out, rather than, you know, they would probably say, hey, we don't want to pay someone else to like clean our bathrooms because they're getting so much more use. So we would much rather just, you know, not save this $10,000 or whatever it is per year, because the cost of labor is going to exceed that pretty quickly.
Yeah, and I think that's what the elected was probably thinking. Especially these Manhattan restaurants are making $100,000 a month. You know, this is nothing to them. And the thing, I ran these numbers because should there be, our land use committee likes to like actually recommend numbers. So it's not just the city making these numbers, but we have our say in it. So part of these numbers is to try to see if you guys want to establish a number, like what would be the reduced fee for a restaurant opening up their bathrooms to the public, because you're looking at these different tiers, and like Berlin or Germany and the UK, it's roughly $1,400, $1,500 max and that's an annual stipend, right? And we're talking about reducing the fee, but also possibly restaurants that are not participating in the program getting money from the city. So the reduction in fee shouldn't be too much so that the city paying restaurants, they don't have to pay the restaurants that much to open up their bathrooms to the public. But then there's also maintenance costs. You know, the restaurants have to clean their bathrooms anyways, but then they're going to have additional cleaning because of the additional traffic, how much cost that would be for their staff. So is $1,500 a year too little for New York City as a stipend or a reduced fee? I wanted to hear curious to hear the committee's thought on that.
Let me just go back and I made a mistake. I didn't ask for questions from the participants. We moved right into business session and I didn't ask for the panelists questions. I'm sorry if I can just interrupt. Any questions from our panelists before we move on to business session? Sorry. Okay, seeing none, we can go back to our business session. Go ahead, Julie, sorry.
Yeah, and that's the same with the question, Joseph, that you have, like, should we just, you know, try to evaluate a certain size that we would require? And this might have to have some additional research that Pete was mentioning, asking the restaurant industry, but, you know, throw out numbers for the city to consider. So it's not just them, being influenced by the restaurant industry, but we have a say in it as well.
Mark,
Hi, thanks for this. I like the concept of having it as a optional program in exchange for reducing the fees. But as you were saying, I think that whatever the reduction in the fees needs to more than offset the cost of the maintenance, which I'm not even, maybe the hospitality trade association can provide some information about what the anticipated costs would be. But I feel like there's additional fact finding that needs to be done there. But I had two questions. The first one is regarding if you're going to have this sort of opt-in program, then how would people know that that specific restaurant has an open bathroom? Is there some sort of like sticker that would be placed in the windows or something? And then the second question is from a legal perspective, if these restaurants are going to be opening their restrooms up to more visitors, then is in these other countries, like how does liability coverage work? Is there like any sort of protection that these companies have? And because there's presumably a higher risk of like injuries and other incidents happening in the bathrooms. And so how can the restaurants protect themselves then?
Yeah, that's actually a question, Renee, the insurance question Renee and I thought about back in a couple years ago when the Department of Consumer Affairs for Workers Protection, they had an idea of erasing restaurant fines if they open up their bathrooms to the public. So that was the question we had for them then. And I think it's hard to compare the US with European cities. Sometimes the requirements are very different. I know they don't have their ADA requirements are less.
They're also probably less litigious societies overall.
Exactly. Yeah. But an incentive for, I know the community toilet scheme, these restaurants are mapped and like they have these great British toilet maps and all sorts of stuff that, it's like free advertising for them. So it's not only just a sticker, but you have a search engine on an app that you can locate these bathrooms. So people would know which restaurants are participating.
Got it. All right, thank you.
Mm-hmm. And I just pulled up this map. The DOT is already tracking all these restaurants. So it would just be another layer where the restaurants that are opening up their bathrooms would be identified a little bit differently.
Joe.
Thank you, Julia. I definitely would support. We need more bathrooms. I like the idea. Going back for a couple of years, whatever happened to the bathrooms that were paid by advertising that New York City ever installed? What's going on with that?
Yeah. The contract for the DOT street furniture program is expiring in 2026. And actually, DOT is having a call with Samusa about the street furniture contract coming up in June. So I think we're going to try to join that call and see what the city is thinking and how they may renew this contract. We know they definitely have to renew it because there's 3,000 bus stops that somebody needs to maintain. But will the 20 APTs still be included in that new contract? 15 of them still haven't been installed, right, after 16, 17 years. And there's 3 years left to install them. We don't see DOT moving on this. So we're not sure if they're going to be installed or not.
And this is all paid for with advertising. There's contracts in place to do this for nothing.
Yes. Yes. Mark, your hand is still up. Do you have a further question?
I do not. I'll lower it. Thanks.
Mm-hmm. Hey, Pete, do you have a further question?
No, I do not.
Additional comments and questions? We're in comment section now. We shouldn't be asking questions. We're in business session comments. Tristan.
Hi, I just wanted to express my support for this initiative. And Julie, I think it was a great presentation. Really appreciate the detail and would definitely agree with the resolution in support of this. Thanks.
Thanks, Tristan. Other comments? Pete, your hand is still raised. Do you have another comment?
No, I do not. I'm sorry. I forgot to take it down. She answered my questions already, and I support this resolution. My only feedback would be to make sure that we get the buy-in of the trade associations regarding this proposal, the New York Hospitality Alliance, and the Chamber of Commerce.
Thank you. Laura.
Thank you, Julie, and thank you, Renee. I totally support this. I agree with Pete and with Joe. We definitely need bathrooms. My significant other is diabetic and needs to use the bathroom every so often. I support this. Thank you.
Thank you, Laura. So I'm hearing that we are in support of this initiative. We need a little bit more information. We need data. We need to figure out how the legal liabilities would fall out. We need to understand how some of the trade associations would feel about this and the size of some of the restaurants. What else did I miss in terms of some of the data that we require in terms of the resolution? Mary?
Yeah, just piggybacking on what Joe said, I guess we were looking for some clarity or specificity about a size where there might be a possible mandate.
Yes. And where there might be a mandate. Agreed. Laura, you still have your hand up? Do you?
No, I'm sorry.
And any additions to support a resolution?
So Renee,
Yeah.
this one comment is, one thing we've been worried about the bathroom group is that they're gonna vote for this bill very soon. I mean, it seems like it's too late to change the bill at this point. I'm not sure how it works. And I think Councilmember Powers is actually on this bill. But should we wait a month to do this extra research, or should we try to pass a resolution this month, I guess?
So who I don't know.
Hi, Renee, it's Marisa.
Go ahead, Marisa. I didn't know whose hand that was.
You know, if you are debating this month or next month, I just want to point out that this was not publicized as an open restaurants public bathroom addition from CB5. I do think we would have gotten substantial comment about that. So I just sort of, you know, if it's a debate about timing, I just want to make that point.
Okay, so we can hold over if you'd like, Julie, and committee, we can bring it to our next BEX meeting for further conversation. Mary?
Yeah, I guess, Julia, I think you're saying that it might not be relevant next month, right?
Yeah, I mean, they're gonna vote very soon, right? They've been talking about this bill for a long time, and they've been waiting for these numbers to be released so they can finalize the bill. So they may just approve the bill, but talking to Todd and Craig, it seems like it's worthwhile to keep pushing for it, even if once the bill is approved. I don't think there's a, we can't opportunity to testify to city council at this point. So even if we get a letter to the elected, to the Manhattan Borough president, I'm not sure what they can do at this point.
In terms of having this on our agenda and having commentary, this was on our agenda as a bathroom discussion and action item. Marissa, no?
You know, it was listed as an update from the public restroom working group. You know, it just didn't reference open restaurants legislation or anything like that. So, you know, I imagine that the Hospitality Association would want to comment on this. And I imagine there are other folks, perhaps businesses in the district that would want to comment. You know, I don't want to presume who would want to comment or not, but it just, you know, it wasn't publicized as open restaurants legislation amendments.
But it was publicized as a presentation. I'm sorry, it wasn't an update. I have the printout. It says Public Restroom Working Group presentation. So have you done that through Bex, I think, before as a presentation action item, Renee?
Through bathrooms? Yes.
No, anything. Have you done anything where I'm of the mind that we do use that wording, a public restroom working group presentation.
As an action item that we
Yeah.
do resolutions, yeah.
That's what I thought. So I don't know, Marisa, I don't have it as an update.
You know, I'm just pointing this out. I'm not making a suggestion. I'm just pointing out that we didn't reference open restaurants or that legislation.
Renee, go ahead and do it.
Okay. Shall we go forward with our resolution? Do I have a motion in favor?
So
Motion to support. Second.
If I could interject one more thing, Renee?
Yes.
Since there were concerns regarding the hospitality input and so on, you could put that into your resolution as, you know, we're approving this with the caveat that, you know, and list the things that you're concerned about as part of it.
Absolutely. And in fact, we did note as one of the things that Pete Webb noted that he did want their input.
Exactly.
Right. So
That
was,
way we're covered.
Right.
That, you know, pending, you know, the hospitality groups, inputs, yada, yada, yada.
and the New York Trade
Okay.
Association. Right. No. Pete had noted that, and that was one of the caveats at the outset. No.
Yeah, I mean, I think we've gotten so much from Julie on this. We have so much input, not on this in particular, you know, this particular part of it because of the legislation, but on the overall issue that I think we can safely move on it in order to make the deadline and cover ourselves in case others didn't chime in at this meeting.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I agree.
Let them call us Pisha.
Absolutely.
It's important. It is.
All right. And I will take this to a vote. Seth,
Yes.
Mary,
yes.
Joseph,
Yes.
Laura,
Yes.
Tristan,
Yes.
Mark,
Yes.
Joe,
Yes.
Charles? Chuck, are you there?
He had to jump.
Oh, okay. Bradley?
Yes.
Pete?
Yes.
And Sona's not there. Okay, so the motion passes.
Do I vote?
Oh, Rob, you're there. Hi.
I'm here. I've been here.
And Rob, yes,
Rob.
Rob,
yes.
I see you. Yes, hi. I had you late. Yes, I'm so glad you're here. Hi.
I was late, but
Yes.
I've been here for a while.
You're here, you're here, you're here. Yes, I did see you. Hi. Yes. And how do you vote? Yes?
Yes.
Yay. Fantastic. Thank you. Motion passes. And for the last item of the evening, something that I know you're all going to be delighted to hear about, last but not least, I just want to quickly outline our responsibilities for the budget and our formal budget submissions. As you all know, by late October, our board formally submits our budget request to the city agencies and OMB. And the agencies begin preparing their next year's budgets, both the capital and the expense. They impact our community districts, and we develop and we vote separate priorities for up to 40 capital requests and the 25 expense budget requests. It consists of 3 components: the request for funding in the capital budget, the physical improvements to the city's infrastructure and the public facilities, land acquisitions and major equipment. The expense budget goes for programs and personnel. You know that the way that we do this is we do the outreach to stakeholders in the community to ask what they see need. We look to the calls that we receive in the board office. We circulate a survey among the board members. We reach out to all the board chairs. I sent out an email already to the chairs of all the other committees. We look to the BEX members, all you guys, to see what you've seen and hear. And then we split into silos, those lovely silos. You know what they are: the healthcare and human services silo, youth education and child welfare, public safety and emergency services, core infrastructure, city services and resiliency, housing, economic development and land use, transportation and mobility, parks, cultural and other community facilities. We're also going to have to draft a district statement of need, which outlines our biggest concerns for the district in the coming year. So when we organize our budget requests, this will inform that document. We also have the opportunity, as you know, to put questions to many of the city agencies, so we can try to align our request with what they're trying to achieve and their needs. I sent out the details to all of the agencies that we're going to talk to this year. And that process is starting earlier this year. So please send out any questions you can think of for those agencies so that we can synthesize those and get those ready to be submitted. And then once we get all the new people on BEX, we can get everybody assigned to silos and people can sign up so that they can attend those meetings and sit in on those meetings with agencies. I'm going to go over this process more fully once we get new people that are going to be assigned to BEX, but I wanted to mention it tonight. Any questions about this process? I know you all love it very much, and I just want to hear if you have any questions about the process. Anything at all? No?
I have my hand up, sorry.
Brad.
Can you hear me? Yeah. I just wanted to, is there an easy way to see how our requests from last year, like, is there any sort of easy, comprehensive way to see
what was funded and what was not?
Essentially, yeah, there's now, okay.
No, not really. We can ask and we can, yeah, no, it's not that simple. Smaller things. Mike really used to look at the potholes that he used to ask to be funded, but it's usually, you know what I mean, not as easy as you'd imagine. Even in terms of the schools, like we would ask, did we get the iPads? And it wouldn't even be that straightforward. You know, did we get the funding for the iPads?
Maybe we can add that as a budget request for this year.
Exactly.
Track budget request. I mean, we had the person from the and I forget the specific office, but they sort of came and their whole spiel was like, we can help you with these requests. Have we reached out to them to see if they're able to check on our prior requests?
I think that's a good idea. I think actually that would be a really good idea. And in fact, Brad, you've inspired me, and that's what I'm going to do tomorrow. Thank you.
Wonderful. Absolutely. Thank you.
And then I also want to, this is not on the agenda, but I'd like to do as a matter of, are there any more questions about the budget? Any more questions at all about the budget? Any questions from attendees about the budget or the budget process? Seeing none, I'm going to turn to just new business. Any new business? So as part of new business, I'd like to do a follow-up from our previous meeting that Mary sent to me, if I may. And Mary, maybe you want to, do you mind doing the follow-up on the mental health issue? Would you like to do it?
Just briefly, I'm happy to share with folks, if you haven't been following that on a granular level, the battle over the right to shelter. I have a copy of the really good letter that Legal Aid filed with the judge who's been appointed that underscores the life-saving nature of emergency shelter, and also a couple articles from the Times and one from the New Yorker that basically shows that Jordan Neely was connected with an intensive case management team and was supposed to be offered a safe haven bed, which was never given. Anyway, just so that we can keep up on the previous presentation. I'm sure this is going to be an issue in the fall.
That was just a follow-up, just in terms of our resolution for short-term mental health solutions. So we had been talking about it, and it's just sort of a follow-up for our resolution for short-term mental health solutions, which we passed. So just wanted to keep following up on some of the things that we have done before. Any other new business or other issues? Seeing none, I will keep you apprised if I can get any details of our other of our previous budget items. And Brad's going to be the first one to know. Everybody have a really good night, and thank you. Thank you for this evening.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thanks, Renee.
Thanks.
Good night.
Good night.
Bye-bye.